Hi, welcome back to another edition of Legal Quilts. Today we're continuing with our Scrap Summer Sewing the Wedding Ring block. Today we're going to be sewing this piece on. It's called the melon, and because it's kind of shaped like a melon slice, okay? It's not that hard, but because it's a little different than sewing the big curve, or the end pieces, I called it the big curve. This had squares and it was pretty much equal all the way around because we've got points and it has this little more of a curve in it. I'm going to show you what I did that turned out to be a lot easier to sew and get it all lined up right. But first we have to cut the pieces. Well, first, you've already divided your quilts, your pieces. I'm having a day, let me tell you. I already divided your pieces into two sets. Your first set, you sewed the squares on last week, okay? This week we're working with set 2, where we're going to sew the melons on 4 pieces. So you're going to need 4 melons. Now remember when we cut these pieces, I said sew them, cut them so that they kind of meet and you've got a space in the middle. So you had this piece left over. This is what you're going to cut your melons from to make sure it matches your background, and also it's practically the right size. You're just cutting it down. Now the problem is this is very stretchy because it's on the bias, okay? You can see it stretches a little bit, so you have to be really careful when you're tracing. So from your template page, you're going to want this piece here that says melon. I cut that out, traced it onto cardboard like I did all the others, okay? Then you're just going to lay it down on your large melon to make a smaller melon slice. Oops, my pen was running away. Right? And then just trace around your melon. I did not put it right at the point because I wanted, I didn't put it right up at the point here because I wanted to make sure I got the right size point. So it was just easier to move it back a little bit and trace all the way around it, instead of only having to do part of it and not having to do one of the points. You just trace all the way around it gently. Don't stretch it. Okay? That's the hardest part. Whoops. Okay? Make sure you come to a point there. So now you've got your point, there we go. You've got it traced on there, and you just cut it. All right? If I do more of these, and I feel like I want to because I really enjoy it, I'm going to get this set up on my Cricut so I can cut lots of them at once and then just sew as I feel like it. But I'm really enjoying sewing this. It's the different techniques, while still also using up scraps, and it's portable, like I said, and you can just work on it, sew a bunch of arcs together, and when you got a bunch of them, you can move on to the next step. You don't have, it's broken up into such discrete pieces that it makes it really easy to just sew, a part of it at a time. When you're on a trip, you don't have to bring the whole thing with you. You can just bring arcs with you, the rings if you want, or you can just bring the pieces that you're sewing the melons on. And so it really works like that. Really works well to break it down into discrete pieces that you can sew when you have time. So then you've got the melons, okay? And what you want to do, where'd the one I was working on go? So we're going to sew this. This piece goes here. And you're going to sew them right sides together. Just like when we did the big curve, you're going to pin and set up your curves so that they're easier to work with, okay? So you're going to lay this out. You're going to take your arc piece, your ring piece, fold it in half, okay? Finger crease that. So you can see where your crease is. Finger, 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 finger crease. There we go. And you're going to mark that. And And then you're going to fold up the end of your crease, the end of your art piece crease. I told you I'm having a day. You're going to take this end right here. You want to take the bottom. Make sure you take the bottom where you're going to be sewing. So you're going to take that bottom corner, see, and flip that over so that it on where you just finger creased. So it's right on your middle there. And then you're going to finger crease this. Okay. And you're going to mark that. And I'm not sure this yellow is going to, the yellow will show up there. Not really sure. I'm going to mark that one with the purple. Okay. Because it's really important you know where your marks are. Okay. And then you do the same thing. You take this corner, fold it up to your center crease again. Finger crease. And mark. That one can be marked with the yellow. My thread's getting in my way. It's pre-threaded for the next step because remember we're hand sewing all of this. Did I get that right? Make sure you got it right because if you didn't, it's all going to be wrong. Okay. All right, so you've got 3 marks on this, your center and your 2 sides. Then from this, you're going to take the side, the top, okay? And you're going to do the same thing. This is going to be the top when you flip it over so it's right sides together. And you do the same thing. Fold it so your points are together. See, my points are here. And you've got the the curved part here. Finger crease that. Now this I'm definitely doing in the purple because I found out the yellow doesn't show real well against sand. Who knew? And same thing, fold your point up at the top here, okay? See your top? Fold your point. Here's your point. Fold that over to here, all right? Doesn't matter what happens down below. You want your point there. You want the top to be folded. So it looks a little triangular, and that's okay because it's up here that matters. See how it kind of, that's not quite, it's up here. See? You want this to be done. All right? Finger crease. Mark. Do the same thing on the other side. Fold the point up to the middle and finger crease. And mark. All right. Then you're going to flip this over. You're going to put this here. You got your ring piece. You're going to set it in there, okay? Flip it over. Then you're going to start manipulating, all right? So you've got your middle piece here. That's where your middle mark is. You want to match up your middle mark with your middle mark. I was off a little bit, okay? So this middle mark here should match up with this little mark on this piece. And you just pin that. And then you bring this over and you match up this side mark with this side mark, okay? That one might be off a little bit. Okay. And you pin. Whoops. I'll get that one later. And you pin. Now, you'll notice when you're pinning, everything doesn't quite match up and that like some pieces might be sticking up or something. That's okay. Trust me, that's okay. And then you pin your edge. You pin your edges. Your point here, your point here with your edge here. Just pin that right there, all right? I put my pin for this one off to my clip, off to the side, so it's not sticking up, and it really does hold it in place better because you're not trying to catch that little pointy in there, okay? Now you notice it's kind of sticking out here and everything. Don't worry about that. Trust me. Just stay with me, okay? it all works out. Um, so that's one side, and you do the same thing with the other side. Find my marks here. All right, match your side one, match this one with this one, you know, your quarter piece with that one, and then your side piece, your point with the side there. And again, stick it off on the side so it's kind of out of your way, and but still holding it in place. Okay, so yes, it looks like you've got spaces here and everything. Trust me, it works out. All right, I'm going to show you how I sewed it. All right, that's going to be next. All right, now that we've got it all clipped, we're going to sew it. Normally you sew from one corner to the other, right? One point to point to point. I looked at this and realized I'm not sure if you start at this point, you're really going to wind up with nothing hanging over on this point because of the way it's laid out, or you sew point to point. Yet right-handed people would sew the other way. So I decided to do something else, and it worked, okay? We're going to start at the middle. Okay, I got my thread all ready and everything. We're going to start at the middle point, okay? See that middle point? Let me do it that way. See the middle point? We're going to start there. Put your needle in. Oops. Making sure your edges match. They didn't. I had to start over. Fortunately, it was before I got too far in. Put your needle in at your 1/4 inch seam allowance, which if you've marked that, great. And just keep sewing. Okay? You just keep sewing. Let me see if I can do this for y'all. All right? And you want to ease the curve. You know, keep pulling up, making sure nothing's sticking up too high, too low. Okay, you don't want it down here, and you don't want this up here, or you don't want it the other way around where this is really sticking up. Making sure as you're going around, your edges stay together. See, nothing's sticking up, nothing's too far down. It all works, okay? And you just ease your way around. All right, yes, you're going to have to stick with me through this whole sewing this side, okay? But we're only going to do half of it, I promise. All right? Because you're just going to do the same thing on the other side, okay? You're just going to keep sewing and easing, okay? Don't want your stitches too close together because then you can't fit the curve in, but you don't want them too far apart because then you'll have gaps when you sew it, when you finish, and that doesn't hold it together. Remember, hand sewing, well, any sewing, it's only where the fabric goes through all the layers is it actually held together. The space between those points where the needle goes in isn't holding anything together, so you don't want them too big. So you just keep going around the curve gently. This isn't a race. It doesn't take that long to do anyway. Again, I'm left-handed, so I'm working left to right. If you were right-handed, you'd start here and work this way. It doesn't really matter. It's the other joy of sewing. It doesn't matter if you're left or right-handed. You just sew, okay? And when you come to a clip, you just make sure you're still lined up so that you know you're hitting them right. If you make sure your lines are matched, your curves will always, well, not always, but mostly come out right. If you've done your measuring right and you've kept them matched up, everything will come out right. Everything should come out right. Now I'm getting nervous here. Okay. Make sure your seam allowances, even though iron them down. They still need to be pushed over a little bit. This pressing doesn't last forever. And you just push it over a little bit so that you catch the other seam allowance in your stitching. See my seam allowance? I want to make sure I catch that in my stitching, so that'll keep it staying down, okay? And you keep moving and edging. And if you keep it pulled up and within your seam allowance, as you come around, you'll see that that gapping that was happening is going away. See? No gapping here. See how it's still gapping over here where we didn't sew? See? Gap as you go along, and you sew and you match. If you've done your measuring right, those gaps kind of go away. Whoops. Got a knot in my thread. There we go. There we go. Oh, I hate when that happens. This is one thing I hate about hand sewing, is you get a knot in your thread and you got to either try to get it untangled, and if it won't, you got to cut the thread and hope you got enough to tie off, after the cut to start over. Okay, and you just keep easing along, and believe it or not, come on, keep going along. I know some people have complained I talk too much, but what else am I going to do? You're going to sit here and watch me stick a needle in and out? I have found that sewing and sticking a needle in and out, hand sewing more than machine sewing, is really great when you're angry, because you're stabbing something multiple times. Just in, stab, stab, stab. I know that's probably too violent for some people, but I'm stabbing a piece of fabric. It doesn't have any feelings. It cannot feel me stabbing it. So it's in and out. Now, even though I put it on the side, it's still kind of in the way, so you kind of move that, but you still want to make sure you match it all up here. See, it doesn't really take that long. I've got a timer on my video, and this hasn't taken that long at all, even with me stopping to show things. And I'm not sewing that fast, so this doesn't go. This is one of the reasons. The other reason I really like this is a travel thing. Portable, can do pieces, parts as you need it, and none of them take that long to sew. So if you've only got a few minutes to sit and sew, hey, do a melon, do some arcs. It's great. One of those, oh, I've only got a few minutes and I want to be productive. Now what I am at the edge, and you see they pretty much match up with no gapping here, okay? And that's where you don't want the gapping. And there's no ridges here, so you see it fit in there great. Now because this is a point, okay, I would recommend doing a couple of back stitches here just to hold it in place, all right? Because that's a weak point here because it's a point, so there's not as much fabric. You're having a little, getting the 1/4 inch seam allowance. I just do a couple of back stitches there. Now, all right, so that's half the melon. We're not going to sew the other half. I'm just going to tell you what to do, okay? Let me just finish knotting this. Okay, all right. Oops, my clippers went all the way over there. Sorry for seeing my arm, my big old arm in there. All right, so that's half of it done. Just sew the other half. Start, let me see. See the center point where okay? Just start at the center point for the next one. Put your next knot right next to that knot and continue sewing till you get to this edge. Doing the same thing. And it's all done. I did that already. Where's the one I did? This is what I did. So we'd have one done already. And you can see it all came out nice and smooth, mostly. Nice and smooth. Any little bubbles there okay? But it all matched up, came out nice and smooth. And if you flip it over, well, you can see a little bit on the blue. Okay, I think my stitches got a little bit in it. You can see it a little bit on the blue where it kind of folded up a little bit. You can see it a little bit there. But this is one of those where if I moved it back here and I didn't point it out to you, you would never notice it. I can see it because it's my work. Just remember the 3 feet rule. If you can't see it from 3 feet, folks, pick whatever distance you want. If you can't see it from 3 feet, nobody else is going to see it unless you point it out to them, which quilters tend to do. Oh no, I missed this stitch here, or I missed this up here. Stop doing that, people. Nobody cares. Unless you're showing at a quilt show, you're making this for family, friends, people who are going to be grateful for the gift. They're not going to care that it wasn't exactly, that this had a little bit of a bubble back there. Overall, it doesn't show. Should you be as careful as you can? Sure. But should you get hung up on every little error? No. They're going to love it because you put the time and effort into it. So stop pointing out your mistakes to people, all right? Remember, there's no quilt police. Nobody's going to run up and go, oh no, she didn't do an exact 1/4 inch seam allowance, or she didn't completely ease that properly so that it's completely smooth back there. Nobody's going to do that to you. And if they are, you don't need those people in your life, okay? We don't need that kind of negativity. So remember, there's no quilt police. Do your best job. Put love into your projects, happiness, joy. Although, like I said, stabbing this multiple times really helped with some stress I had this week. Stress reliever. It's supposed to be a stress reliever, not a stress causer. Remember all of those things, okay? So that's it for this week. Don't forget to hit that like button. Likes really help. Watching helps. People, please watch this all the way through. Watch my other videos, please. Watch hours really matter to keeping this channel going, all right? If you want to see this channel keep going, please, hit that like button, watch, subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed, get your friends to subscribe, everybody share, everybody subscribe, watch just 1 hour a month. That would really help me, okay? It'd be amazing, all right? Also, you can support in other ways. There's still my Ko-fi page where you can support there. I don't do the levels thing or anything, so just any kind of support. Or you can support, I'll put my PayPal link in the show notes. There's some affiliate links you can use. Also, there's always the website with things. I'm going to be putting some new things up soon. So, but that's it for this edition. And next time, pretty sure I didn't look ahead in the directions again. Oops. But I'm pretty sure we're going to start putting the melon pieces together with the other pieces that we sewed the squares on. So we're starting to put the block together. It's still all going to be hand sewn, but it gets easier at this point, although there's still that curve. But we're getting to the point almost where it's just going to be straight piecing. Okay? I'm having so much fun with this. Like I said, I think I'm going to do more of these. So, and I hope you're enjoying it too. Let me know in the comments if you're enjoying or what you're doing this summer, quilting wise or other. I don't really care. I'd love to hear from y'all. I'd like to know who's actually subscribing and watching. So please let me know. Until then, have a safe summer. Stay cool, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.